The elderly man arrived at the veterinarian clinic with his sick dog, intending to have it euthanized. Overwhelmed by grief, he was on the verge of devastation. However, a sudden and unexpected event occurred just before the tragic procedure was carried out, leaving the man shaken to his core. Pets often become integral parts of people's lives, and they are cherished as if they were family members. This was undoubtedly the case for Jacob, an elderly grandfather who had been with his black Labrador, Buddy, for 7 years. Since the death of his wife many years earlier, Buddy had been Jacob's constant companion, providing him with companionship and comfort. Buddy was an inseparable companion to Jacob, and the elderly man loved him dearly. Despite not having many visitors, including his own family, who used to visit more frequently when his wife was still alive, Jacob never felt alone because of Buddy's companionship. The black Labrador was a fantastic source of comfort, and gave Jacob a reason to start each day. Even at the age of 91, Jacob remained relatively active and enjoyed going for walks. He would often take Buddy for long walks in the countryside near his home, putting a lead around the black Labrador's neck. Buddy was always content to walk alongside his owner, and never tried to pull away or run off. When Jacob would remove the lead and let him run free, Buddy would never wander too far and would always return, almost as if checking on the old man. On pleasant days, Jacob would sit on a bench in the park, the same one he used to share with his wife many years ago, and chat with Buddy. He would talk about his wife, his feelings, and plans for the upcoming days, while the black Labrador attentively listened. Buddy would occasionally tilt his head, as if he understood every word that the old man said. One morning, Jacob woke up to find that Buddy was not by his side as he usually was. The black Labrador was usually quick to follow him out of bed. Jacob felt concerned when he realized that Buddy wasn't there. As he walked over to the dog's bed, he found Buddy lying there with a sad expression in his eyes. This sight made Jacob anxious, as he didn't like seeing his only friend in such a state. The dog seemed uninterested in food, and he didn't want to go for a walk when Jacob waddled his lead. The old man was worried, and he hoped, but would be feeling better the next day. But several days later, Buddy was still in the same condition. He had barely moved, eaten, or drunk, instead just sleeping and whining every now and then. Jacob had pulled up a chair next to Buddy's bed, and he read out loud to him, partly to keep his own mind from worrying, and partly to provide some comfort to his beloved dog. The morning after, though, Buddy could barely even lift his head or open his eyes. It was clear that Jacob needed to take him to the vet to find out what was wrong. When Jacob and Buddy arrived at the veterinarian clinic, the human struggled to get the limp dog inside, but still did his best to keep his best friend comfortable. All the while, Buddy was softly and quietly whining. As soon as the receptionist saw the elderly man struggling with the dog, she rushed to help him and carried him straight into the vet's office, where she laid him down on the table. The vet got to work studying Buddy. She listened to his heart, checked his eyes, and felt all over his body, trying to figure out exactly what was wrong. It was soon discovered that Buddy had a serious infection, and that if it was to be cured, they would need to treat it very soon. The illness was causing Buddy a lot of pain, and if it was left untreated, it would more than likely spread to the rest of his body, and ultimately kill him. The news hit Jacob like a ton of bricks. Buddy was one of the only companions he had left in the world, and at this point the dog seemed more family to him than his actual family. So the news that Buddy was so severely sick greatly upset the elderly man. He didn't know what he would do if he lost his best friend. Unfortunately, though, treatment for the infection would be very expensive. Jacob didn't have too much money saved up, and he would not be able to afford the life-saving treatment that Buddy would need to survive. The realization slowly crept into the elderly man's mind that his beloved pet would most likely die in agony, filled with infection and terror. Tears started to form in Jacob's eyes as he looked down at poor Buddy. The vet understood the old man's predicament and made a suggestion. She told Jacob that the dog could be euthanized, which would be much quicker and far less painful. With one simple little injection, Buddy would fall peacefully asleep and pass away quickly and quietly. This was by far the most preferable option, but Jacob didn't want Buddy to die at all. He couldn't imagine living in a world without his poor dog and the important company he provided, Buddy he had done and still did more for Jacob than he would ever realize. Tearfully, Jacob told the vet that he would try to raise the money for the treatment. He dug into his pockets and put down a few crumpled notes on the table as a deposit before softly scooping up Buddy and shuffling out of the room. As he did so, he told the vet that he would be back in 3 days with the rest of the money, but the days passed and Jacob was unable to raise the needed amount. The morning of the appointment, Jacob quietly wept as he put on his clothes, gathered together what little money he had, and picked up Buddy and hugged him close. Jacob told the poor dog he was so sorry that he couldn't save him, and Buddy just softly whined as if he understood what would soon be happening to him. Arriving at the vet's, Jacob still had tears flowing from his eyes. He carried the poor dog all the way to the vet's office and sat stroking his head. As Buddy lay sadly on the table, the vet prepared the injection that would soon send the dog to sleep and make him peacefully pass away. As he approached Buddy, Jacob couldn't hold his tears back any longer and sobbed bitterly as he hugged Buddy one last time. There was a long pause where there was no sound, but Jacob's heavy sobs and Buddy's soft whining as they awaited the inevitable to happen. The vet put down the syringe and looked thoughtfully at the old man and the dog. She walked over to Jacob and kneeled down next to his chair, stroking her hand up and down his back to console him. She could see how much the dog meant to the elderly man and how important But was in his life, and because of this, she had made a decision. She would do the treatment for free. Buddy was still relatively young and should have many years of happy life ahead of him, and Jacob was scared and alone in this world and needed his beloved dog to help him carry on. The thought of the vet having to end both lives was unbearable. She had chosen to become a doctor to save lives, and that's precisely what she promised Jacob she would do. When the vet made this promise, Jacob was overjoyed and gave her a tight hug. The vet even shed a few tears herself as she realized the significant impact she was having on their lives. Without delay, Buddy was taken into surgery, and the vet began to remove all traces of the infection from the black Labrador's body. Fortunately, the vet succeeded in her mission, and Jacob was thrilled to learn that Buddy would recover and be as healthy and robust as ever. Jacob expressed his gratitude to the vet, thanking her profusely for her efforts. When Jacob offered the money he had collected to the vet as a token of his appreciation, she refused to accept it. However, from time to time, she would visit Jacob and Buddy, joining them on their walks and keeping the elderly man and his dog company. By saving Buddy's life, the vet had not only made a loyal companion in the black Labrador, but also a lifelong friend in Jacob, making the elderly man's life a little less lonely. What is your opinion on this heartwarming and amazing story? How would you respond if a veterinarian informed you that your pet required euthanasia? Would you offer to cover the cost of someone else's pet's treatment if you had the means to do so? Let us know in the comments section. If you like this video, please share and subscribe to our channel. Thank you.